Hey, thanks, Ben. We got a full house today on a Friday, January 14th, 2022. Is this our first one for the year, Choo?
First one.
All right. Dr. James Choo's in the house. We have two great guests. We have worldly renowned film producer Griffin DeLong in the house, and Ben is running it. He's got the head chair today. Thanks, guys, for coming in. I appreciate it. New one for the holiday. We are on week episode 8. Episode 8 of Mental Toughness, what it is. We have two great guys in here that Dr. James Choo wrestles around with at jiu-jitsu. This guy, jiu-jitsu's like crack, I think, Ben. It's contagious in here. He's got a couple more guys that come. Cam, the Hitman Miller. You know who'd be a good one?
You guys know Cam. Young guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Great guy. You know who'd be a real good one?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He don't think so. He'd be a good one.
Oh, man.
All right. Sure. So our two guests today, I don't know him. Chewy's bringing guys in that he worked with, wrestles around with, punches, gets hit in the face and all that type of jazz. And I like this. These are great guests. I don't want to give any titles away
yet.
Mm-hmm. But if each one of you guys could introduce yourself, we could start from there.
Well, my name's Derek Birchfield. Served 8 years in the Marine Corps. Infantry, a couple of combat deployments. Since then, law enforcement. I trained with Choo over there in jiu-jitsu. Got a background in Muay Thai as well. What's been, about a year now? I mean,
think about it.
Is that about
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've been rolling around, getting beat up by Choo over there.
All right. The nice young-looking kid with a couple cauliflower hours. I saw those ears. Did you see those?
Zach's monster.
Yeah. Right. He's got the ears. I was like, okay.
I'm not too young. I'm 35.
Oh.
You got baby face.
Woo! You do have a baby face. Wow.
But, I'm Zach Wilson. 6 years in the Marine Corps. Went to Iraq. Got out of the Marine Corps. A few years KPD. Work with Derek now. I've been doing jiu-jitsu with Choo. Started out martial arts and taekwondo, got my black belt through that, and I don't know, I just got addicted to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but you both had really great careers in the infantry. So you were both in the infantry.
Yes.
Zach, you also had another specialty.
Yes. I was a scout sniper in the Marine Corps.
And you also had a specialty, right?
So I've had a couple different ones. As a martial arts instructor, throughout my time in the Marine Corps, I also rewrote the criteria that they use to teach the machine gun leaders course. I attended Scout Sniper School. However, I've never been deployed as a Scout Sniper.
Okay. So you I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. So, but you also spent time overseas, both of you guys deployed.
Yes.
What years were that?
Just 2009, 2010.
So my first deployment was 2003, then 2004, and then 2005.
That was very early on. Was this in Iraq?
So one Iraq, one Afghanistan, and my other deployment was actually what we call a unit deployment program to Okinawa, Japan.
Okay, so two in really, really hard conflicts.
Yes.
Yeah. 2003, that was probably when it was really, really live, right?
That was the time that we actually went in and went through the entire city. Not the time that we went in, failed, got kind of pushed back and reset, but when we actually, Operation Found Fury.
Which one, where were you guys going through?
Push all the way through Fallujah.
Fallujah. That was one of the worst areas, right?
Yeah.
In Iraq.
Yes.
I mean, that was like the most violent areas in Iraq.
It's one of those, kind of depends on who you talk to.
Uh-huh.
If you were in Ramadi, that was the worst spot.
Okay.
If you're in Baghdad, that was the worst spot. If you're in Fallujah, that was the worst spot. Obviously, for me, that was the worst spot because that's where I was at.
Yeah. And then you were also in Afghanistan?
Yes, Afghanistan. I went to Kabul, Afghanistan. I was only there 5 months. So we originally went over and we augmented another company to stand up the embassy.
Okay.
So Afghanistan to me wasn't the same as Iraq. We were more of a holding force to set up and security force to set up the embassy there, as where Iraq we were actually in combat.
You were in it. What about your experience in 2009, 2010?
So it was more of a political experience than anything. Mm-hmm. I remember we got into they call it Camp Cupcake. It was Al Assad. We get into Al Assad, and it's a big Air Force base, right? And the very first day we get there, they do our ROE briefs, and dudes were like shooting the side of the base with RPGs, and they're like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We got enough buffers." And that's when I knew. I was like, "This is going to be a really weird deployment." But it was. They were very hands off with us as far as ROEs and stuff. Like, 'cause we were technically the last combat unit in the Marine Corps to be in Iraq.
ROE means
rules
what?
of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very political with everything. You know, we don't need to be out here getting gunfights, guys. You know, unless you're taking direct fire, do not fire. Stuff like that. We had a lot of our stuff was just Overwatch on convoy, like convoy security.
Okay.
And we had one MSIDS mission where we went out and tried to find an HVT. But it was
What's the HVT?
high value target.
Okay.
And then MSIDS, it's like an electronic computer system that hooks up to a Canon camera, and it's a MAGTAF secondary dissemination information system. So it's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words I don't understand.
But it's basically a tough book computer that links up to the camera. You take photographs. You can email those pictures back. It was the upgraded version of range cards and field sketches at the time.
So you're taking a survey of the area and you're giving that information back to your whoever needs to analyze it to make decisions on what to do. Is that basically?
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome. It had dimensions and I mean, you could 8 to 10 digit grids. I mean, it would dissect in like real time distances, whatever structures you took photographs of. It was really cool.
Okay. Yeah, because snipers also, part of it is getting information. I mean, that's
collecting and reporting. That's a 90% of our job, 95%.
Very, okay. All right. Well, I mean, the Marines are known for being a unit that has so much cohesion. Right. So I have patients of mine that are like in their 80s and 90s and they're Marines. They're never former Marines. They're still Marines. Right. And they always have their hats on. They're always very proud of their service. I mean, universally.
I think the easiest way to put that is when you become a Marine, it's not a job. It's your life. I mean, it's your lifestyle. You've completely changed from who you were. The way you look at things, the way you think about things, the way you react to things is all changed. I mean, you're a completely different person.
And so talk to us about that, because I think everyone that I've ever talked to in the military have said, these Marines, I mean, they're so motivated. They're the ones that are, crazy in a good way, right? Because they're tight, right, as a group. And you guys are thrown out there oftentimes, early on in the conflicts. You're in the Fallujahs, you're in the, just doing some crazy stuff, right? When the war pops off. How do you become a schmo civilian? You're 18 years old, fresh out of high school, probably don't know a thing about anything, right? Like all of us. But then, what is that experience like? How they transform you into this Marine?
Well, what made each of you guys enlist?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Let me go
ahead.
You
want to go ahead, Derek.
So for me, I grew up for guys that know where it's at, Wartburg, up in Morgan County. I mean, I graduated with 60-something people in my senior class.
Yeah.
If you know anything about the area, there's nowhere to go. Like, you either get out of there or you stay there. And to me, I looked around and I was like, this is not what I want to be when I'm 30, 40, 50 years old, here still, with no career. At the time, the only thing...
You were kickboxing then.
Yeah. Yes. So the only thing there was, as far as career, was you could work at the state prison. That was it.
Brushy Mountain.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
They have the Brushy Mountain and the penitentiary, the regional penitentiary up there, and those were the only two things you had.
Wow.
And even then, I mean, you look at the salary of those guys, they're making $30,000 a year, and guys are trying to retire on that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know any retirement off $30,000 that you're going to be able to live healthy.
Yeah.
So I looked at that and I looked around. Obviously, drugs are a big problem up there. I got friends that were overdosing left and right.
Wow.
And I'm like, I've got to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want this. I don't want to raise my kids in this. You
Yeah.
know, I've got to get out. So I literally, one day I just decided that I'm going to join the military. And
So you never, as a kid, you weren't that kid with
No.
like running around the.
I was the kid like with every dream of I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a doctor, I want to be
Yeah.
a professional racer, so one of those things. But at the end of the day, I looked at what was feasible, and the military was obviously the easy.
Did you have any guidance with that?
So I had the absolute complete of, hey, you do not want to do this.
Oh, they were telling you not to do
Yeah.
it.
They,
So-
as in your
My
parents?
parents, all my family, because in my family, we got a lot of Army veterans in my family. I'm the first Marine in my family. And even with the Army vets, most of them are reservists, like the National Guard, which nothing against those guys. They don't live the lifestyle. They're, they do their job every couple of weeks, every 2 weeks a month. They get deployed every once in a while, but they don't live that lifestyle.
You're
So-
not in the ground pounding.
You get to
world.
do that every once in a while, and you go back to having your normal job.
I got you.
So it's completely different. I looked at that, and I've always been the one, I'm 100% in or I'm out. So, and you talk to everybody, the Marine Corps is the hardest one. Like, that's where I'm going. Went and talked to the guy.
You were excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to the recruiter, and I literally talked to him. I think it was right before Thanksgiving, I want to say it was. Or excuse me, no, it was December 13th. I remember that now. December 13th. Went back, told my family on Christmas, hey, I'm joining the Marine Corps. And everybody's like, what?
It's like, well, are you crazy?
Are you crazy? Yeah. So
What year was this?
2001.
Oh, so this was right
Right as
after September 11th.
Yeah. So
I
right
gotcha.
September 11th, everybody thought I was crazy. And at the same time, all those people that I have in my family that was in the Army, they're like, yeah, why don't you join the Army, the Navy, Air Force? And, you guys know me. I'm, like I said, 100% in. So
Yeah.
I was like, no, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to the Marine Corps. So that's kind of how I, long story, ended up joining the Marine Corps.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to know.
Zach?
Very similar to Derek's in a way. I started out, I didn't really know what I was going to do in life,
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Friendsville, Tennessee, so
Okay.
in Blount County.
Yeah.
So, but not gonna lie, I felt like my parents kind of sheltered me a little bit growing up. It's very aggravating. I think that's part of the reason I wanted to get into martial arts.
Yeah.
Just I needed my breathing room,
Yeah.
But I was
Well, define shelter, because that's, again, the mental toughness thing that we have to stay on point with. That I like that. His choice of, like, Geronimo, I'm going, is what switch makes that? Why
Yeah.
didn't he stay in Wartburg
Yeah,
and
love
follow that? That's what I'm trying to tick into. So when you go, first of all, how do you realize that you were sheltered, somewhat coddled, would you say?
yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I
So
mean,
how did you know that? Because that's a hell of a quality to understand, and that's a hell of a quality to understand of this isn't for me.
So in high school, I had a lot of problems going hanging out with my friends. Just my mom was like, "Hey, no, what friend is it? What's her name? Where are you going? When are you coming back? Why didn't you answer your phone? You need to call every 5 minutes. Stuff like that." And looking back, now that I have my own kids, I understand where my parents were coming from. But at the time, I'm just like, man, like I'm grown.
Let me fly.
Yeah, let me fly. And I started dating this chick in high school, actually, and we graduate high school.
I like the word chick.
We part ways, not in a good way, and I just didn't know what to do. I was kind of freaking out, and I was like, you know what? And I heard this was 2006, so the war's already kicking. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do the military. And I didn't tell my parents or anything. I knew it was
Anybody
gonna,
in your family in the military?
my uncle, he was in the Air Force, but nobody really talks about it. And then my grandfather's brother was in the Marine Corps during World War II. Nobody really talks about that either.
But again, Wang's good with the stories. I want to know the why. Like, why did you choose that? And
So-
get back to him is why did he choose?
Yeah.
Well, you could choose a lot of things: vocational school, college,
Yeah. It's good-
coming to Knoxville to find a job. Step out. Why do the service and why do the hardest? Which I like.
Yeah.
So when it came time to, I started looking at all the different branches. I already knew I wasn't going to do Air Force.
Did you have family members? And anybody was a Marine? Because
No.
no.
And I started, I just started kind of looking around, and I still to this day, I can't really describe it, but just something different. I got a different vibe from the Marine Corps. There was just something different
Just
about
talking
it.
to recruiters or what?
I don't know. I
The
just
commercial's badass. Is it
That
still
is
the same
true.
commercial?
I don't know. Yeah, that
the
is
guy that fights the dragon, it's
Awesome. Here's the difference.
yeah.
Here's the difference, Griff and Ben. I'm like, that's not for me.
But I just felt like there was something different. I don't know why. I just felt like there was something special about it. I go into the recruiter's office. He's like, "Hey, you can do any job you want." After I took my ASVAB, I was like, "I want infantry." He's like,
ASVAB
What-
is
yeah, bring
what
it
is
down
that?
here. What was that?
just the entry exam.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm like, infantry, and he's like trying not to laugh. Okay, sign right here. And I was, and, so I go ahead and sign, and I went home. I hadn't told anybody. This is on like just a whim. I woke up one day. I was like, you know what? I'm doing this. I committed. I went in the office. I talked to a recruiter. Signed the paper.
What was
I
that
come
feeling
home.
like? Honest, on a serious tip, what was
Yeah.
that feeling like of waking up one day and both of you guys had that same aha moment
yeah.
of I want to change my life.
Great
It was
question.
it was scary, but it was freeing. I wasn't in my comfort zone anymore, but it actually felt good to me.
Yeah.
And I remember I got home and told my mom what was going on. Man, it was a absolute meltdown.
And this is the same mama that
Yeah.
basically kept
Yeah.
Life 360 on you all the time.
Yeah, so it was like, hey, what did you do today? Well, I joined the Marine Corps.
What did she do?
It was bad. She was distraught. She's like, we're at war. And
Sure.
she, it was a struggle. Thankfully, I left 2 weeks later. So
You got a quick out.
yeah. So it.
Did you have the surprise effect too?
As far as like me feeling surprised,
Well, when you went, did you journey off like he did, or were people supporting you and you talked about it, then went to the
So-
office?
no. So I went and talked to them without telling anyone
You did.
Yeah.
Both guys did the same thing.
because I knew kind of like Zach. If I had told them ahead of time,
Oh, they did try
like
to.
Oh, yeah.
they'd probably lock me in my room at the time.
Yeah.
So I went, and at the time, the recruiter's office was in the Oak Ridge Mall. So it was very simple to come over there and, hey, I'm going to Oak Ridge, go to the mall. I ended up at the recruiter's office,
Go get your slushie and then sign up for the Marine Corps.
Gotta hit the arcade first, though.
Did you ever, both of you guys, this is a two-part question after you did that, after you signed up, were there any regrets? That's regrets. If anybody saw that movie, but okay, we got it.
So me, I was in what they call the delayed entry program for almost a year. So at the time, I had a tattoo. It was fine when I joined. Went to join the military, or went to DEPS is where you actually officially sign in. You do the medical. I went to ship to boot camp. They're like, "Hey, your tattoo's racist. You're not allowed in the military." Yes. So ended up getting that covered up, but I was in the program a year.
It's like Richard Gere.
Yeah.
We had to put something.
Remember, I grew up in Morgan County, so
I'm a movie guy.
and all my tattoo was a Confederate flag.
Oh, Morgan County.
Yeah.
That's kind of par
That's what it- that's-
for the course.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what it was, and it was fine when I originally had joined the delayed entry program, but when I went to ship to boot camp, it was like, no, you can't have that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, at that point, they gave me an out. They're like, hey, we can discharge you from the delayed entry program. I was like, you're never here. Well, I chose to stay in the delayed entry program, have the tattoo covered up.
What's the delayed entry program? What do you do there?
So during that time, you can stay into right at a year or up to a year, but was it once a month? I think it was.
I thought it was once a week.
Or once a week. You get together pretty much on a Saturday with everybody that's waiting to ship to boot camp. You do PT or you get little lessons from your recruiter, and they kind of teach you what to expect when you get there.
That sounds scary to me. Well, that's almost worse than just Geronimo. Like the next day you're gone, right? Because you have time to think about it.
Yeah.
So that was the hard part for me. It was over
1 year.
A year, things can change in your
But
life.
the thing, you were so motivated though.
Yes.
I mean, you were just like, I will cover that tattoo up. I'll wait and I'll do this.
So, and it goes back to I wanted out.
That was what your motivation. I want to get the hell out.
That's what I was searching for. Okay,
Yeah, that's
you
great.
do the stories, Wang. I'll pull it out. What's in them?
Yeah,
okay,
that's
he
a little
wanted
bit.
out.
Yeah,
that's all I need to know. He wanted out.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
I love it.
Yours.
Which part?
Well, did any regrets after that?
Not until I got there. I was like, this. I had a vision in my head of expectations, and then I get to Parris Island.
Those were shattered.
Yes. I was like, wow, these guys are going to kill me. And, looking back, now that I'm on the other side, looking back, like, obviously that wasn't going to happen. But at the time, I mean, I'm a 19-year-old kid.
This is the part that really interests me too.
I wish I would have asked everybody to bring their core pictures. I would have brought my pops because there's a picture in black and white, the whole
that's
court
awesome.
with Parris Island, all that jazz.
That's so cool.
That's just in my office.
That's awesome.
That's as far as it gets for me. But it's like, I got it today, Dad. I'm tough.
But it was a push mentally. There was a couple times where mentally I'd reached my breaking point. Just being pushed by the drill instructors, it's like, man, like
define a push.
I mean, just nonstop. And what I remember the most, it wasn't the physical stuff; it was the mental stuff. And what I always remember the most that stressed me out is the nonstop noise. There is no silence ever, even at night.
For how long?
All day, 24/7.
So okay, let's back this up a little bit. How long is that process to be from you get off the bus until you're a Marine?
So as long as nothing happens as far as injury wise and everything lines up as far as they have a platoon to sit you in, because there's like a little limbo phase when you first get to Parris Island.
They call forming phase.
Yeah, and if they don't have a platoon to sit you in, then you just stay in forming until the cycle rolls around and you can start. I didn't know that until I got there.
They don't
and I was
tell
like,
you that.
Yeah,
So it's basically limbo.
Yeah.
Yes.
And during
You're
that limbo,
purgatory.
you're still getting yelled at.
Yes.
All the time.
You're still
forming you.
Yeah.
and you're doing what we call working parties, which is
Yes.
all the crap jobs that need to be done. Like if you need, parking spots painted, well, that's what you're doing.
So
or pull-up bars painted.
Then, fastest case scenario, start to finish.
13 weeks.
Yes, 13 weeks.
And longest case scenario.
I think it's the longest.
6 months.
Yeah.
I met somebody that had been there for 6 months.
Because that's the
I was
thing too.
like,
If you
man.
go through, you get injured.
Yeah.
You get recycled back. So, and you don't get picked up until that next platoon that could be 6 weeks behind you. You don't go back to them until you're at that point.
You are two rednecks from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Easy, Choo. Easy.
You're welcome. And you, know nothing about this Marine life. No. I mean, basically what you're telling me.
Yeah.
They put you on a bus.
Yes.
Not to mention you're staring at the ground when you're pulling
And
in
then
Parris Island.
you go to this Parris Island, whatever that is. Bus door opens. What happens?
Oh, dude, it's just
Shell shock.
yes.
Like, drill
what's
instructor
happening?
jumps on the bus, starts yelling.
It just starts.
Instantly.
The fire starts.
0 to
So
100.
you've never heard these stories?
I've read. No, I've never heard from them.
I
No,
just
no.
heard from Pop. So that's all he ever talked about. You got in the car, it was all Marines. I'm like, oh my God, I get it. You're tough.
Yeah, and
You know,
then,
like-
but you take these kids. I mean, they're just like, oh, I'm just a kid. And
okay,
then
I
all of
want
a
to go
sudden-
back to about the self-doubt. Did that ever set in with either of you guys? Like, what am I doing here? Is there any way I could get the hell out? Did I make the wrong decision or the right decision? Self-doubt creeps into all of us and whatever we do in life.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right decision?
I thought about that a lot, especially at night when everything kind of winds down a little bit. I was like, man, is this what I was supposed to be doing?
That's mentally tough.
But, I'd made a commitment. I mean, there's no turning back. That's it. I mean, in my mind, I was like, well, I can't get out of this. I signed a contract. I sold my soul to the American government and the Marine Corps.
Little did you know you
it's
could.
Yeah.
Wow. Any?
To me, I never had the doubt. The drive for me wanting to get out and make a better life for myself and my family was way more than anything that.
So you knew.
Did you enlist at the same age?
I was 19.
I was 19 as well.
But can you go at any time?
18, that's 17
17 with a waiver, I think, and your parents.
What's
have
that?
I think you can do 17 as long as your parents sign off.
And I think the oldest you can be without a waiver is 37.
Got it.
Oh.
I had a guy comes in my platoon. He got a waiver. He was like 41.
Oh my
when
God.
he joined the military.
Wow. That's a midlife crisis right there.
He obviously had some regrets along his life. Wanted to change them.
Yeah. So then that whole process, what that entire process, I hear this a lot.
So the environment could make them mentally tough.
I hear this a lot. That whatever they do in that washing machine of a boot camp.
Mm-hmm. Well, you heard Mr. Haslam talk about it. Griff and I talked about it. Is he thinks everybody should be in the service.
Yeah.
My dad thinks everybody should be 2 years of service.
Yeah.
And, only the Marines and then do what you want to do. And you developed
discipline.
I mean, you guys are naturally tough. I would say Wartburg. I would even say, you'd bet against the Friendsville guy, right? But for him to make that choice, he had choices. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's more like me. Of like, there's not too many choices in life. I either had this or this, and that's all I had to do. When he said, and don't take this the wrong way. It's his mother
coddled him.
Well, you use a different word.
Sheltered.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't want to say coddled. That's more like what I used to say with Griff. So it's different things. So sheltered of understanding those things. Even Griff understands that. Is like, I wanted that you guys could relate to each other. I wanted out of that. Yeah. I wanted to create that, what we talked about, that hard circumstance. What did Joe say the word was?
Yeah.
Manufactured
adversity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Manufactured adversity. Yeah. So he was...
He already had the
adversity at Wartburg. So,
right.
He's, I would say in high school years, a tough MFer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wartburg, tough guy, whatever. He could go. This one, which is amazing, and both is he had to think, okay, I could stay here and have a comfortable, easy, but harder life. Yeah. See, that people think the easy life's the hard life. The hard life is the easy life. That's what we're getting at. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So stay on course. Think about what the decisions are with both these. And at the end of the day, you pick both of them to go to war.
Oh, yeah.
From two different circumstances, two different environments.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, so that's what we're trying to get. Think about this with the definitions of mentally tough. And it's like his environment was already mentally tough. So he's like, screw it, I'll just roll over to another environment.
Yeah.
And not that you're a country club kid at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in the business 32 years. I've seen all types of different people. He had to make that choice.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't make that choice.
Oh, no.
They stay in the easy, and then they're like, why is my life so damn hard?
Yeah.
But easy. We get that, right? You and I talk about it so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
And the older I get, and reflecting back on that, I'm not trying to get political with the conversation today, but a lot of people talk about how masculinity is on a decline in society, and but I think I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but I was trying to find my own passage into manhood. If you look around at all the cultures in the world that exist and have existed, each one has a passage into manhood, and I guess reflecting back on the decisions I made when I was 19.
Society's trying to rip down the manhood.
Yeah.
You could tell when you guys walked in, again, great handshakes, look in the eye, just like my father taught me, the little guy right there. That's a definition of a man. And then we could go into beast mode. And then it's okay to be a man. And I think, like we were talking about in 2022, they're trying to water that down to be more sensitive, and you don't.
And here's the other part of that,
but you better be a man going through Parris Island. All the stories I heard from my father, you
rite
come
of
out.
Passage. And everybody I hear that have had their kids go to the Marine Corps, and then they come back, they see their kid in the graduation, whatever it's called. But
it's all
the kid has changed, transformed. It's like they have transformed.
But it's all for mental. Remember, in here, everybody's trying to get better for whatever sport, whatever thing. That's easy because it's self-absorbed. It's about you getting better. This is about a unit. This is about their character and their mind, not their their speed or their jumps. It's
Right.
totally different.
Totally different. Right. 100%. So you guys get through this tough, rigorous, mentally challenging thing, right, to become a Marine.
Yep.
But then there's a lot of other choices you can make in the Marine Corps, right? You can take a desk job, you could fly planes, you could do whatever you want.
That's how they get you. You sign up to what job before you even show up to Parris Island.
Yeah.
You have no idea what the jobs are.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, they tell you what they are, but you really don't know until you get there and see the difference in what jobs there are. But you're already committed before you even go to boot camp.
For this job.
Yeah, for
That
this
you
job.
have no idea what it is.
They'll show you a video on it,
Yeah.
but it might not actually represent what you're doing.
But in the culture of the Marines as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, the frontline guys, the infantry, there is a special place in the heart for the Marines for those people, right?
Yes.
Infantry guys. There is a you are. They always say you're all riflemen, but are you really? Are
No.
the guys in the front line
No.
are the real? And there is a dividing line. You guys that are doing the front, there, and that's what you guys chose to do,
Yeah.
right?
So, a little more background on me. I'm also married to a Marine.
Uh-huh.
So my wife is a Marine as well. And we share stories, obviously. But the difference in my lifestyle and hers is, it's daylight and dark.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between being in the infantry and not.
Okay. So explain that.
And I didn't realize this until, I had graduated from Parris Island and went to the School of Infantry, SOI. But, man, some of these guys, when I first got there, I thought everybody was of the same mindset I was. I joined the Marine Corps because I knew that they were the tip of the spear as far as the branches. Mm-hmm. I knew that we were at war. I knew that we were going to most likely deploy.
Yeah.
We're in the Marine Corps to fight. And when I get to boot camp in my platoon, we all start talking, getting to know each other. And out of the, I think, 25, 30 something guys in my platoon, like me and like maybe 3 other guys were infantry. Everybody else were these other MOSs. And I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, so okay.
And then after we graduated Parris Island, I start, running into guys while I was at SOI, doing other MOSs, and they like revered the infantry guys. And I was like, man, this is weird. Like, I thought everybody was, cut from the same.
Okay.
Yeah. And, it was weird how they had us on a pedestal, But still, I guess we're going to get more into our stories.
Yeah.
But still, after a couple of years in the infantry, I still realized that I didn't want mediocre. So
that you're still motivated, even though you had all of those doubts. You get through all this stuff. Where'd you find that motivation?
Well, okay. So I can't talk about my life without talking about God. Mm-hmm. So Proverbs 16:9 is probably that is my life story. A man's heart deviseth his path, but the Lord directeth his steps. And that's what was going on with me, man. I thought I knew what I wanted, but I didn't really have a clue, and the whole time God was like, oh yeah, this is what I want you to do. Mm-hmm. So thankfully he reeled me in because I was all over the place. I was just flying by the seat of my pants.
Okay.
And, I'd been in line company for about 2 years, mm-hmm. and they're like, hey, we're going to Iraq. And I started looking around and I was like, man, these guys, yes, I'm in the infantry. Yes, I'm in 0311. But these
0311
guys,
is infantry.
Rifleman. Anything 03 is an infantry role. The last 2 digits. So I was an 11, that's rifleman.
Okay.
0331, that's machine gunner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
that was me.
That's you. Okay.
And so I started looking around. I was like, man, like these guys are not trying to learn anything. They're not really trying to improve themselves. And I didn't have a lot of trust going to Iraq with these guys. Like we're going, and I know that sounds bad, but I'm just like, these guys were just kind of like, oh yeah, what's up, bro? And it just scared me. And there's a couple times I ran across some of the scout snipers, and there was something mysterious about those guys that I liked, that I was attracted to.
Yeah.
And they had made an announcement they were going to have battalion NDOC right before the deployment. And I'll never forget, I was asleep in my rack, and I was having a dream, and I woke up. And as soon as I woke up, I felt like God was all over me. He's like, you're going to do that. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if that's me, And he's like, let's go. So I was like, okay. I went and put my name in the hat, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
is there an extra level of reverence for the scout snipers as well? So there's obviously reverence for the infantry guys.
Yes.
And then there's a even different degree of selection for those guys, right?
So there's a love-hate relationship.
Okay.
There's a love-hate relationship. So world renowned, scout snipers are the...
That's where it started, right? The snipers started...
That's the bar worldwide, is the Marine Corps Scout Sniper.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. When's that Hathcock guy?
Carlos.
Yeah.
And that's not me being biased. You can talk to any program, any sniper program, and that's the standard that's set throughout the world.
That's awesome.
It's a tier 1 rated school as far as, it's like even SOCOM community guys can go to the Marine Corps basic sniper school and be...
SOCOM is what?
The Special Operations Command.
Okay.
So
So other branches of the military will send their guys to the scout school for in the Marines so that they can be better better snipers.
So, and that's the bar that's set. But as a infantryman, you envy those guys and hate those guys at the same time because they get the special treatment because they are that top tier. When I was in as Zach was talking about, a line company, the basic battalion, I wasn't a scout sniper, never been. I don't even look at myself as a scout sniper because I've never deployed. I'm school trained. That's it.
Oh, so you went to the school, but never. Yeah. So you don't think it counts unless you've been down.
Me and Zach had this conversation multiple times. We argue about it, but it is by far one of the hardest schools I've ever been to in my life.
Wow.
So in a basic line company, we hate those guys. They get a Humvee ride everywhere they go. They get whatever they need. In the Marine Corps, in infantry, you get the bottom of the barrel stuff. Like, you do the most with the least amount of equipment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we hate them, but at the same time, we love them because they will save your butt.
Oh, really? Yeah. Really? Okay, so there is not only do you have to be motivated to be a Marine, you have to be super motivated to be an infantry Marine. And then if you want to do anything else, you have to be super motivated to do that, and competent and capable, mentally tough, all that kind of stuff. So there's there's a kind of a hierarchy of a tier of pulling it out. Chaz, what do you think, man?
I'm going to make these guys famous. I just posted them on Instagram.
Yeah.
But the story gets even better. So and this is the first time I've really sat down and talked to you guys in depth about any of this stuff. I didn't know.
You like this? You do the stories. I'm staying on course with like the mental tough.
Yeah.
Where those decisions that Griff and I have such deep conversations about this all the time.
Yeah.
And him referring to God and listening and those things.
And then you were a machine gunner.
Yes.
So what was that all about?
So for me, once again, it goes back to I'm 100% in or out.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to the School of Infantry at the time, and even in the time I was in, it was the highest failure rate of any infantry MOS, the military occupational specialty. So your job, it had the highest failure rate. So I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And going through that, it was great.
So he just chews hard.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
Yeah. I am that guy through and through.
Yeah.
If it's hard, I want to accomplish it.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, the easy way of life is not fun for me.
Mm-hmm. You are all enlisted, not officer.
No.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So you chose that, and then Derek, you go to Fallujah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hell of a deployment, right?
Yeah, it was. So people look at it that aren't in the military and even aren't in the infantry and like, why would you want to do that?
Right. That's a good question.
I tell people, imagine training for your job and never doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only time in my career I got to do my job that I trained day in and day out to do.
How many years had it been training at that point in time before you go there?
So my deployment to Fallujah, I'd only been in the military a year.
Oh, wow.
But everything...
That's a great sentence.
So
you didn't get that, did you? That's why I run the show. Why train if you're not going to do it?
Yeah.
So that's the lifestyle, as he said.
So I've only been in a year at the time, but everything I'd done was to build up for that. I knew I was going to the infantry. I knew that I joined in a time of war, so the odds of me going to war were very high. So going to Fallujah was that aha moment. I finally have almost like that. I've made it.
Oh.
I've accomplished everything.
Your graduation.
Yeah. I am now to the point that I am trusted by my command and down to the country to defend this country in a overseas environment.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're fired up.
Yes.
You're not just like, oh, I don't know if I want to do
So,
that.
I
You're
mean,
fired up.
obviously there's those nerves when you first, to me, the nerves was when the trip there. But once you get on the ground, you figure out what you're doing, the nerves go away. Talking about the mental toughness. So to me, I don't know if you guys want to get into this yet, but my whole definition, the whole mental toughness thing is the adaptability.
That's what I want to get into.
So
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So to me, it's adaptability. If you
Explain.
So if you look at anything, I'll try to explain this to understand it. If you look at anything that you've done where people would consider it mentally tough, you've literally had to adapt to it.
Mm-hmm.
No one just goes into it like, I've already got this experience. I'm here. I'm good.
I figured it out.
I figured it out.
Yeah.
You're adapting to it, and it's that ability to be able to adapt. Now, where that comes from, there's some debates, the whole nature versus nurture thing.
Yeah.
I've got my own opinions on that.
Mm-hmm. What's your opinion?
Me, it's so. I actually had this conversation with my wife the other day. I also have a degree in psychology, so I wrote a thesis on it. Is to me, it's all about nature. If you take, there are some, like, of course, it's the complete opposite opinion through the medical field.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is my opinion only.
That's why you're on here. That's what we're getting.
Yeah.
If you take someone completely away from an environment, they're going to be shaped by that environment, that their new environment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's studies that show tendencies of your nature.
Temperament.
Yes,
yeah.
comes.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe you're shaped by your environment, just like
Product of your environment
Yes.
is what you think.
yes, just like the Marine Corps. You go boot camp, your environment shapes you to be a Marine.
Yeah.
So
One way or another, you're going to be a Marine.
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, like I said, my opinion. It's complete opposite every medical paper I've ever read.
Yeah.
But that's
Well, that's what I wanted to get into. That's what I'm loving. Is that is it's all over the joint when we have this. It's like you said with the medical people, even the more analytical, smarter people are thinking it's not the product of environment. It's this, it's that, it's, and I think it's not for me to think. Real quick, while we're on that, where's yours?
As far as my opinion,
Yes, like mental tough. What's your thoughts?
you know,
Yeah.
it's one word for me: commitment. That's it. You commit to something, you got to see it through to the end.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like I get a lot of that from my dad. You know, because growing up, he was always like, "Hey, don't do anything unless you're going to do it the right way the first time."
That's awesome. Yeah. So, Derek, you were in the firefight.
yes,
I mean, I don't know how many, but probably quite a few.
yeah.
And extremely violent time.
Yes.
Yeah. And what was that like the first time you? I mean, it's not training now. The real bullets are flying at you.
The first contact I had in Iraq wasn't a firefight. It was actually an IED. And this is going to sound crazy to most people that's never been there. It was excitement. Of course, you have that moment of, do I have all my limbs? Everything good? And then the excitement became, because you have that adrenaline dump, obviously. You've just been hit by a 155 millimeter bomb. But now it's, okay, now I've got to go do my job.
This is it. I'm ready. Let's go.
So that was my first contact in Iraq, was IED. So there was that moment of, oh crap, turned to excitement to anger and how dare you.
Yeah. Yeah. And channeling that into getting your job done, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then so there was one IED explosion. What else happened during this time?
So to wrap it up, my 8 months through that was six.
You were there for 8 months.
Yes.
Wow.
6 IED explosions and 1 gunshot wound.
How many? You received some awards for this.
So I have 3 Purple Hearts.
3.
3 Purple Hearts, a couple personal awards for acts under valor. So the big one to me, everybody's like, "You have Purple Hearts." I was like, "Yeah, I should have zigged when I zagged."
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yes, I do have 3 Purple Hearts.
3.
Yes.
And how? What are? I didn't know about the Valor Awards as much. I thought it was like 2 Purple Hearts, but 3. What? And then so if you don't mind, because I know you don't want to talk about it unless I pull this out of you, out of my own curiosity. What were those Valor Awards for?
So one of them was I was hit by an ID explosion. I received injuries throughout the left side of my body, shrapnel, and it was me and one other vehicle at the time. I still, with injuries, was able to gather all my guys, get people medevaced, take care of everybody, set security, get the scene secured, make sure nobody else.
All this with shrapnel on your body.
Yes, and then I was the last person to be medevaced and fought tooth and nail not to be medevaced at that time.
Oh shit!
And then to add on to that, about 3 days later, I was back in the field with bandages and on crutches.
You were back. How many?
3 days.
3 days. You were back out there.
Yes.
3 days later, after all that, you were back out there.
So we, through intel from people like Zach doing their job as scout snipers and stuff like that, we received who we believed was responsible for the ID explosion.
So you want to get after it.
So we put out a observation point, and I ran that observation point. Literally, I got dropped off with a Humvee, crutched into a building, up a set of steps, and set up an observation point, and ran the observation point for about a week because I wanted to get the guy that hurt my guys and myself.
Chaz, what's running through your head?
Well, that's good because that comes. Where does that come from? Product of environment.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I mean that and it was more of the, I don't know, as far as going back out, that was more the you're not going to do that to me, like kind of thing. But
and your guys,
the setting up all that, doing the reaction to being in contact, to me that was leadership. That's all that is to me. Is I'm the leader of these guys, and I'm the last one that's going to leave.
You're responsible for
I'm responsible for them. I'm going to take care of them. Then I'll worry about myself later.
Wow.
And that's one of the big things that are looked over with a Marine is every one of them's got leadership, even if they don't see it themselves. I mean, that's because
do you think that's instilled in the way that the training is?
Yes, 100%. Because it's not an I, it's a team, and we instill that, and it's pushed the entire time you're in the military.
Wow. Well, and then you go back out, right? I mean, even after the observation, and then that was one Valor Award. You had another?
So I've got another. That one wasn't for Valor. It's just what we call a Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal. And it was for we had a cordon set up, and we had a vehicle borne IED come in and explode in the middle of it.
Oh man!
And I also took shrapnel during that, but I was able to coordinate the entire medevac for all the guys that were down at the time.
Wow. All right. So Zach, what do you think about this story over here?
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So that me and Zach we're buddies, but we don't really. People think of Marines, we all just sit around and talk about our war stories.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard that from Derek too.
Really?
Know? Yeah.
Really, and you guys have been buddies for a while. Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate you sharing that. And then, Chaz, we had a really interesting conversation. I mean, he just kind of dropped this. As hard as all this sounds, there's something else that's harder, according to Derek. And Derek, what is that? What's harder than all of this? As hard as this sounds freaking hard. What's harder?
Getting out of the military. That was the hardest part of my career. Was getting out. You're not prepared for it. You've lived that life of that tight bond between guys that you would literally give your life for. You get out, and then you're supposed to be back to normal, like every other civilian. But you're not, and you're not going to be.
Going to Costco.
Yeah.
Watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to be, and there's no way that you can just transition back to it.
That's the way it's supposed to be, right?
That's the way it's supposed to be. It's, you're here, you're a Marine one day, the next day you're not. According to the government's eyes.
Yeah. Going through all that, there's a lot of trauma going through all of that. I'm sure you may have had losses, clearly. And we know, just from the medical civilian's perspective, that theoretically, we just know that can be very, very tough. So I know that we were off camera saying that we can talk about this. Obviously, feel free to say I won't talk about this, I won't talk about that. But that had to be incredibly hard. You went through some hard transitions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the things that has a stigma in black eye was the post-traumatic stress disorder. So I've literally talked to psychologists and psychiatrists and told them I'd be more worried that I didn't have it if I did. Right. You go through all that and you don't have post-traumatic stress disorder. I think there's an issue there. Yeah. We need to start researching some more of your psychological health there. But like we were talking off camera, I think a lot of it's just the guys don't want to talk about it. And for the longest time I wouldn't, even with close friends and family. Little backstory is one of my classes in getting my degree was the only class I failed actually was psychology of combat.
That's awesome.
So I argued with my instructor for 9 weeks because I'd actually been there and he's never been there. Awesome. But during that time, some of the research I did, so the Great War of World War I, 1915 was the first documented case of, at the time, called shell shock, which now is turned to post-traumatic stress disorder. The difference in World War I and not every war before that was World War I was the first time we sent our troops to another country.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's not necessarily to send on the troops, but how did we send them?
Boat.
We did up until World War I. World War I, then we flew them.
Oh, okay.
And we flew them home. So, back in the day, those guys spent weeks and months on a ship and a boat with the guys they just went to war with. They talked it out for weeks, months, whatever. World War I was
with guys that had been there. Yeah.
Been there. World War I, we sent them on a plane. They fight their war, get back on a plane, fly home. They're back in hours, days.
Yeah.
They don't have that time to decompress and talk with the guys that experience that. And personal opinion, doing the research, I believe that's where a lot of our shell shock, PTSD comes from. Because before that,
they're jumped off in a world that has no clue about anything.
It has no clue what you just went through. Right. And you have guys that have never been there, never done that, want to tell you what's wrong with you.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I have no 100% medical proof on this, just some research I've done and the things have changed through time. Before World War I, there was no, as far as I know, no documentation, nothing shown that PTSD or shell shock, any of those things existed from those guys. And they may have been a different generation, and those old bastards are just tough as hell.
Yeah.
But there's no documentation of any mental disorder due to combat previous to World War I. So I think PTSD is a big problem that we have, and it's because guys don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a stigma in the country today.
So what did they do instead?
they literally want to give you medication, but like, here you go, this will take care of your problems. And I did that for a while. I self-medicated. Once I got out, it was a tough transition. I self-medicated, drank every night. You know, I was fighting things. I say things like demons inside, obviously.
Yeah.
Not knowing where to turn. And then you want to talk to your buddies that are there, but I get the thing that everybody's just a phone call away, but it's completely different talking to somebody on the phone than it is having somebody there to talk to. And then if most of us don't want to pick up the phone for that call of, hey, I need to talk to somebody. So I drank myself, I don't want to say death, but I drank a lot. Went through depression, all that. And it's because literally I went from being a Marine to now you're a civilian and figure it out.
On your own without a compass or a map.
Yes.
Yeah, you basically...
So, and it's learning to figure that out and how to deal with it. And to me, my wife's a big factor in that. She understands me, obviously, having a military Marine background herself. I mean, me and Zach's known each other, 2 years now?
From jiu-jitsu?
So me and Zach actually got to know each other from our job. We work together we're at Y12 now, but that's where we got to know each other. And then he's the one taught me into coming and training with Choo and Sam. So that's I don't remember where I was going with that, but that's where we known each other. If you guys have known me 7-8 years ago, a completely different person. I give a lot of credit to my wife being able to deal with me, because along with that you have alcohol issues. You got I never got into the drugs, but the medical prescribed drugs. Yeah. And there's a lot of guys that turn to narcotics. Actual street drugs. And then on top of that, you add in relationship issues, trust issues. It all comes with
maybe financial issues.
Issues. I mean, all that comes, from a lot of that PTSD symptoms and things like that. So my wife stuck with me thick and thin through. We've had our relationship issues and stuff, but now, I tell you, it's a different world, and I give a lot of credit to her being able to help me through those situations, and it's being able to talk to someone that you trust. Like, I mean, you have taught Choo, and I told you at first I would only talk to people that I trusted.
Yeah, right.
But I think it needs to be heard that it's okay to talk about it. I've turned from the 17, 18-year-old in Wartburg that had no direction to a Marine to law enforcement to in between that, someone that pretty much a drunk that drink every day to now have a very successful career. Yeah,
you do. I mean, both of you guys do. Chaz, what do you hear when you see this story? I mean, I thought that was a big surprise to me. The hardest part was getting out.
Yeah, the transition. The transition of, you could probably say that high. I could correlate that with the athletes.
That leave the NFL.
That leave that high, and they go through the alcohol, the medications, the who am I, what am I, the depression. I see it yearly with retirement, because these guys are trained soldiers and then they come out civilian life, and it's a letdown. They don't play on Sundays anymore. That's what I find. And he hit on a great point of the community of talking and how the soldiers, when they came back, they had that time. And they didn't have that time before. Almost isolation in you're a biblical guy, and to Apostle Paul and Griff, and to isolate is one thing, and to be alone is another thing. And the isolation isn't that healthy, you know. And that's what they find, the community of. That's a great point, that they didn't have that. They, like he said, hours, maybe a day. Here you go. Thanks for your service.
You're done.
Now you figure it out.
Yeah,
and that's where it's. Yeah. I mean, and that's, we were, the radio scripture where Charles Stanley talked about retirement is like old fruit that's broken from a tree. It gets old, and that's why I'll never retire doing what I'm doing.
Stanley said, "Oh yeah, or yeah."
But Charles Stanley's 88 years old and still preaches the word because he works 6-7 days a week. Retirement's one time in the Bible, and it's only for a Catholic priest. That's it.
Zach, what was your experience like leaving? Was it different?
I thought it was what I wanted. It's kind of like I didn't go through the exact same stuff Derek went through. I thought I was ready to get out because I wanted to do some other stuff. I wanted to see what was out there, and I got out, and that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, oh shoot, I didn't realize until it was already over that my dress blues, like I'm not going to wear those ever again. Unless I show up to it unless I just want to, like one of my buddies got a wedding or something. But as far as putting my uniform on, it wasn't going to happen. And that was, once that actually sunk in, I was kind of like, man, but I think what helped me continue forward is just carrying on the legacy. I met some giants as far as reputation, and in the
military,
yes, in the Marine Corps specifically. And when you see even just being a normal Marine, just the legacy of what you carry on, the guys that came before you, and then on top of that, just some of the guys that I met in the Scout Sniper community. I mean, I was like, man, whether or not I want to accept it or admit it, I represent these guys. I'm not just carrying, it's not really about me, it's their legacy.
Wow.
It's not letting them down.
Even outside, you feel like you represent them in the civilian world by the way you carry your life, I guess.
Even to this day, I mean, I got out of the Marine Corps at the end of 2012, and to this day, I still represent that community.
That's great.
And
that's awesome.
That's one of the big factors of why I push so hard at everything. It's like, because people, just like you, how long have we known each other?
Yeah.
But still, regardless of my personal life and everything else, what do you know about me?
You're getting after it all the freaking time.
But you know my background, and whether or not we were close friends like we are, in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, that guy's was a sniper in the Marine Corps. And I just feel like that's a legacy I have to keep going on because of the guys that allowed me to be in that community. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, these two guys are some of my favorite guys in jiu-jitsu. I mean, they get after it. They show up. They're going to show up. They work their asses off. Never complain. And it just so much fun to be around. I mean, and it just, I wanted to know more about the story because I knew they weren't just these aren't braggadocious guys. So I had to get them on something like this and pull it out of them because I knew it was going to be, I was hoping it was going to be good and it was great. So Chaz, what do you think?
Well, thanks for sharing the story. You're the story guy. You pull it out. You give the questions, answers. Why you're doing that? I do this every show. So he's just he just rolls and feels, and I'm the writing guy. I feel out here, but here I get some things. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming in. It's a pleasure and honor to have you guys. I'm glad you found your way. Those things hurt for me, of the drinking and the pills. Tough. I want to wrap it up with both end results, and I refer always back to the wood gym and training. Both these guys came up different ways of what I'm listening to, and you tell me if I'm spot on with this or not, because I'm still I focus on mental toughness. I hear their stories, great. Why? I always need to know the why. I think that's why I do what I do for a living. Zach wanted to grow up. Derek wanted to get out. Yeah. And I think with that, the same destination.
I think they both did it.
And the same results.
Yeah.
And they both did it. And the same, and they did it.
Yeah.
And that's, I refer back to training as people could train with somebody else and do a whole different style. The bottom line is when you get to the NFL Combine or whatever, make sure you got the same results of running those 40s, and the trainers, and Griff knows this, the West Coast guys and or the Miami guys with the state-of-the-art facilities and It's pretty, and if they get the same results, great. Mm-hmm. But these guys are wood gym guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's what it is. And this is a whole different result. And, hey, it's like the Marines. It's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to wrap it up with that. You are amazing bringing these guests in. It's awesome. And
I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to be your friend. Mm-hmm. And then especially sharing what you've shared here is unbelievable. I hope there are young people that are looking at the world and know that there are choices you can make in spite of what people are telling you out there, that it's not good to be a man or whatever it is. That's just phony baloney stuff. And also know that there are other people that might be walking in your shoes right now trying to make some decisions, getting out or struggling getting out, that there's something out to the other side. There's so much in this story that people can listen to and get something out of it, I think. So thank you so much.
One question, it's simple. We'll let it go. Everybody's got to do their thing. Question from you. Same question, maybe different answer. Would you do it again?
100%.
Yes.
That's all I need to know. Happy Friday, Ben, Griff, everybody. Thanks, man. It's been an uplifting day, uplifting morning. Hope to see you guys again and keep wrestling around with this guy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.